16,188. That is the number who made it. The rest, over 1,69,000 students, went home. This is the story of the city that processed all of them, and the government that decided their children needed to be there younger.
Parent who sends their child to Kota has seen the billboards. 1 in 4 IIT students comes from this city. That number is technically true. It is also the most sophisticated lie in Indian education. We have the official JEE Advanced 2025 summary statistics, straight from IIT Kanpur. 1,87,000 students registered. 18,000 got a seat. The billboard doesn't show you the other 1,69,000. We are going to show you exactly what happened to them and who decided that was acceptable.
In this investigation, we are going to do 3 things. First, we are going to follow the money, specifically the money that convinced a state government to legally defy its own central government, to protect 14-year-olds' right to sit inside pressure cookers. Second, we are going to read the data that the coaching institutes spend crores making sure you never see clearly. Third, we are going to name the architecture of this system for what it actually is. Not broken, not flawed, working exactly as designed. But the single detail that shook me most during this research, I'm going to save that for the end. Because by the time we get there, you'll already know what it is. You just won't want to say it out loud.
To understand what is happening right now, you need to understand what Kota became. This is not a city that grew around an education industry. This is a city that was built one by one. The hostels, the mess halls, the landlords, the stationers, the Xerox shops. Every square foot of this city's economy runs on student enrollment. Coaching institutes don't just provide classes here. They are the infrastructure. For decades, this ecosystem operated with zero meaningful regulation. Students were arriving younger and younger, some as young as 13, starting a grind that runs 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. The psychological toll became impossible to ignore. In January 2024, the Union Education Ministry finally moved. They introduced guidelines with one clear protective rule. No coaching institute can enroll a student under 16 years of age. For a brief moment, it looked like someone in power had blinked first. But a machine this size cannot survive an interrupted intake. Following those guidelines, coaching institute enrollments dropped noticeably. Hostels reported empty beds. Mess halls cut their headcount. The secondary economy, which runs solely on student bodies being physically present, began to feel the pressure immediately. When thousands of crores are on the line, political pressure doesn't take long to build. What happens when the state government has to choose between protecting children and protecting its economy? You probably think the state government stepped in to protect the students. You're wrong. The Rajasthan government, under Chief Minister Bhajanlal Sharma, has drafted the amended Rajasthan Coaching Center Control and Regulation Bill 2025. And what they chose to leave out of that bill tells you everything about who this system is actually built to serve. They didn't forget the age requirement. They removed it, deliberately, consciously, after a drafting process. The bill also relaxes the penalties for violations, meaning institutes that break the rules face softer consequences than before the regulation was supposed to exist. Think about what that sequence of decisions actually means. The central government said, protect the children. The state government responded, we need the children in the classrooms, not for their education, for their enrollment fees. This isn't a political oversight. It is an economic rescue operation. The Kota coaching economy is estimated at thousands of crores annually. That money flows through hostels, landlords, food vendors, transport operators, and of course, the institutes themselves. Every empty bed is a direct loss to the local economy. Every student kept out by an age restriction is revenue that simply disappears. The coaching centers lobbied hard, and the state government made its choice publicly visible in a legal document. They chose the economy. The teenagers could wait. When a 14-year-old leaves home for Kota today, they are not, in the eyes of this system, primarily a student. They are an economic unit. Their presence fills a bed. Their fees fund a campaign. Their fear of failure keeps them enrolled. The state needs them there, regardless of what it costs them to be there.
The state is not just refusing to implement the central guidelines, it is actively making it legally easier to violate them. Reduced penalties mean reduced deterrence. Reduced deterrence means more underage students in classrooms. More students in classrooms means more revenue. The logic is perfectly circular. And in that circle, the 14-year-old is somewhere in the middle. Not as a protected person, but as a necessary variable in someone else's profit equation. You'd think that was the worst of it. It isn't, because the political capture of the state government is only the supply side of this machine. The demand side, the parents, the students, the fear, that is built and maintained by something even more deliberate. So if the government is bending its own laws to keep the funnel wide open, who is actually winning when the students walk into the exam hall? The numbers know, and they are not what the institutes want you to read. This is the official JEE Advanced 2025 Summary Statistics document, published by IIT Kanpur. Not a think tank, not a news outlet, the institution that runs the exam. 1,87,223 students registered. 18,188 got a seat. That is a 9.7% selection rate. At the advanced stage, these are students who already cleared the JEE mains, already survived the first filter, and still 9 out of 10 didn't make it through. Now, watch how the marketing machine uses this data. The coaching institutes, particularly those with heavy operations in Delhi and Kota, lean almost entirely on one statistic: the Delhi zone conversion rate. Out of 34,069 registered candidates in the Delhi zone, which is the geographic cluster most heavily served by major coaching institutes, 4,182 secured IIT seats. That produces a qualified to allotted conversion rate of 36.78%. And that number is on every billboard, in every brochure, in every parent meeting. More than 1 in 3 of our students gets in. What they are very carefully not telling you, that 36.78% is calculated from students who already qualified the advanced exam. Not from the students who enrolled, not from the students who paid the fees. From the survivors of an earlier elimination round that cost everyone else 2 years of their lives. Look at one more column in this document: gender. 1,43,000 males registered for JEE Advanced 2025. 43,000 females. The system places a disproportionate, crushing weight on young boys to be their family's financial rescue. The pressure to crack JEE is not evenly distributed. It follows the fault lines of how Indian families assign the burden of economic salvation. These are not just statistics. They are a portrait of which children we decided were most expendable to the machine. And here is how the institutes maintain the illusion of those conversion rates. Every major coaching institute in Kota runs internal sorting examinations. The students who score highest get segregated into what are internally called display batches. These batches receive the senior faculty, the best study material, the additional sessions, and the institutional focus. The remaining students, the vast majority, are in standard batches. They are paying the same fees. They are funding the advertising campaigns that feature the display batch students. They are the subsidy that makes the billboard possible. The Kota machine is not an education system with a filtration mechanism. It is a filtration mechanism that runs education as its cover story. A privatized tax on middle-class ambition, where the fee is paid up front and the refund never comes. 1,87,223 students, 18,188 seats. The gap between those two numbers, 1,69,000 students, is not a failure of the system. It is the system's output. The gap is what it was always supposed to produce. But this raises one final question that nobody in the government or the industry wants to answer out loud. To be fair, and we must be fair, for a specific subset of students, this environment is genuinely transformative. There are teenagers from economically marginalized backgrounds who enter Kota with nothing, absorb the structure, and break generational cycles of poverty through the IIT gate. That is real. Those stories exist. The teachers inside these institutes include some of the sharpest minds in their disciplines. The peer group is unparalleled. For those students, the 18,188, the system worked. The question is, what we are willing to call the cost of producing them. So let's close what we opened. Why would a state government legally defy central guidelines designed to protect teenagers? Because the Kota coaching industry is, in economic terms, too big to regulate without political consequences. It is the financial heartbeat of the region, and political heartbeats don't get switched off voluntarily. The Rajasthan Bill isn't a failure of governance. It is governance working precisely as it was pressured to work.
Who really wins this game? The official data makes it inescapable. The institutes win by running internal filtering systems that guarantee their success metrics always look extraordinary, while the students who funded those metrics quietly disappear from the denominator. The government wins because the economy it is protecting stays healthy. The billboard wins because it never has to show you table. And the thing that shook me most during this research, it isn't how brutal the system is. It isn't how cynically the data is weaponized. It's that nothing in this system is broken. Not the state government's calculation, not the institute's marketing, not the data. Every single part of this machine is doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's just that it was designed very deliberately to serve the machine, not the child inside it. The real question was never whether Kota is broken. The real question is whether we, as parents, as lawmakers, as a society, built it to be exactly this way, and then called it education. If you want to understand how far this obsession goes, look at what happened when the NEET paper leaked. How a single question paper brought an entire... That investigation is next.